Before we wrap things up, a few Gordon Solie trivia questions. Are you ready for this?
Uh-oh, all righty. Give it to me, baby. I'm ready for it. I tell you what, I'm going to answer everything 100%. Maybe 85.
Which wrestler named Baron employed a great skill, the claw? Employed with great skill, the claw.
Employed a great skill. It was Jim the Claw Mitchell, a guy from Minnesota from the early 80s. That would be Baron von Raschke, a.k.a. Baron von Pumpkin.
Of which association was Willie Gilzenberg once president?
WWF.
Which wrestler is known for his off-the-top rope axe handle maneuver?
Oh, now, wait. Well, that could be Randy Savage, because the time period of the game, I would have to think that would be what it was, but nevertheless, other people have done that.
It's Randy Savage, that is correct. And remember, the time period of the game is the late 80s.
Right. Yup. Am I going to spend another $5,000?
Uh-oh.
I don't know who the fuck that. Oh, there we go. A phone number from Campbell, California, with a 669 area code has been calling me and not leaving messages.
Campbell, California, isn't it? That's where Dave Meltzer's from, right?
But it ain't. I've had his number. I had his number as soon as he walked in the door, and that ain't it. I don't know, maybe it's his next door neighbor. Maybe Dave's causing a stir in the neighborhood, pining for his lost friendships.
The following wrestlers all played professional football: Ernie Ladd, Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, and Paul Orndorff. True or false?
Okay, well, definitely yes, Ernie Ladd. Definitely yes, Wahoo. Orndorff played for the USFL. Wyndham, Blackjack Mulligan, was the story he was drafted by the Jets, but he never played for the Jets? Or another team? Am I thinking of the wrong team?
Let me start by saying I'm not sure how accurate this is or isn't, but it says true that all four played in the NFL.
I mean, there was involvement.
Well, professional football.
Professional football, not the NFL. See, there's the Orndorff. I believe it was. If it wasn't the USFL, it was some other offshoot of football rather than the NFL. And there was something with Bob Wyndham and the Jets, and I can't remember whether he actually played or not, but loosely that is true.
I think you're thinking of Benny and the Jets, but let's move on here, Jim.
Benny and the Jets.
Bob Roop wrestled for the U.S. in which Olympics?
That would be none of them. He didn't go to the Olympics, did he? Didn't he go to, he was the Pan Am champion, Pan Am Games? Did he really go to the Olympics?
It says 68 Mexico City.
Well, was he on the team? Did he go? Did he wrestle? We got to delve into that a little deeper.
Hold on. Let me see what we can find real quick. We'll take a quick break from the game action to see what we can find out about Bob Roop. He was the NAAU All-American, NAAU champion.
National Amateur Athletic Union is what you're going for there.
Yeah, I'm looking to see Olympics here.
I mean, that was what was told for years on wrestling television. And no doubt Bob was a shooter.
Oh, well, here we go. It says, Roop was 25 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, and weighed 270 pounds, entering the games in Mexico City in 1968.
Okay.
The team was coached by legendary wrestling coach Henry Wittenberg. Roop finished in 7th place, losing to Alexander Medved, who went on to win the gold medal.
I remember Medved from 72, and he was a badass, those Russians. Then remember, that's when Chris Taylor got fucking jobbed by the Russians. So Medved was a badass. Only next to the weightlifter, Vasily Alexiev. Gave Ken Patera all kinds of trouble.
Which tag team was known as the High Flyers?
Gagne and Brunzell.
Who had a role in the movie Wise Guys with Danny DeVito?
Lou Albano.
Captain Lou Albano. Just get it right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
True or false, each wrestling federation in its rules sets the percentage of a manager's share of the wrestler's purse.
That would be false.
Would it indeed be false? True or false, Alonzo Washington defeated Lou Thez in a non-sanctioned NWA title match in 1943.
Who is Lonzo Washington? That is false, by the way, but is that an actual person?
I'm going to guess it may be someone who worked on the game. If I had to make a guess here, that is indeed false. Whom did Vern Gagne defeat in Chicago in the summer of 1980 to begin his 9th reign as AWA World Heavyweight Champion?
Oh, God, that's when he won it from Bockwinkel for the last time, right?
That is correct. And I wanted to ask you, what did you think of that? I mean, you weren't really watching the AWA, I don't think, in 1980. But what did you think about the idea that Vern won the title one last time and also that Vern retired without dropping it?
Me and Weasel Dooley both laughed and cackled and guffawed over it was bad because even at that point, Vern Gagne had been huge. Vern Gagne was an NCAA heavyweight wrestling champion for real. Vern Gagne was one of the first major network TV stars in wrestling in the early 50s. That's how he got the name to go and buy his home territory, create the AWA. He was successful there for years and years, but now it just got ridiculous that by 1980, 81, here's Vern bald as a cue ball on top, which he had been for 20 years, but now he's also fat with no discernible body tone, and he still works the early 50s style, and it's 30 years later. And, basically it was the name and his ego, because Bockwinkel was just a little bit younger, but my God, could he go? And there were other people that Vern could have got at that point to carry the AWA in the future, but because he was set to retire, he decided he's going to go out as champion and not only beats Bockwinkel and wins the belt back for the last time, but then didn't drop his retirement match. In what was it, 81? He was 56 years old and retired as undefeated world champion. And then they just gave the belt back to Nick because they were too either cheap or time pressed to do a tournament. So that's what, I mean, they still had a few more hot years, but it wasn't because of Vern. It was because of Hogan and a lot of Bockwinkel's work and getting everything to work up there. And some of the other guys, they had, 2 more hot years, but even the smart fans were just laughing until they pissed themselves about Vern. But even the regular fans that weren't smart of that era were starting to go, wait a minute, what the fuck? This is just way too much.
Which wrestler's first professional victory came in Montreal, Canada, over Ferdinand Furskoud?
Oh, what? Now, wait, hold on. This is either got to be a trick. Was it Mad Dog Vachon?
Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan. His first match was where and for who?
In Montreal, Canada. And again, coming out of New England, that's not outrageous. Against Ferdinand Furskoud.
See, I'm thinking that sounds like a name that Kevin Sullivan would have loved to have just said to make up. And since he was in Florida about the time that this game was created, because I've known Kevin for a long time, he never told me his first match was in Montreal. I believe Burlington, Vermont, but not Montreal for Ferdinand the cow or whatever.
Which tag team challenged to wrestle Ali, Frazier, and Foreman in one night?
I have no idea because I'm sure that was a magazine article that was made up.
The Valiant Brothers.
Okay, Johnny, Jimmy, and Jerry.
Who's known as the Polish Hammer?
Ivan Paduski, according to Jesse Ventura.
True or false, a wrestler under 4'11" is classified as a midget under all recognized wrestling rules.
There are no height classifications for midgets. And therefore, that's why you get a large range of midget heights.
It is indeed false. On August 29th, 1982, Nick Bockwinkel lost the AWA World Heavyweight belt to this Austrian-born grappler. Who was he?
Otto Wanz.
What'd you think of that when that happened?
Oh, I was starting to get a little bit smarter to the business. I was almost in it. And at that point, you could recognize a business match, business title change. Otto Wanz was the owner of his own promotion in Austria, and they did the catch wrestling, and he had tours that he brought Americans over. And he had enough money that he made a deal with Vern to buy the belt for a while. And that's the way that Baba did the same thing in Japan. So did
Inoki did the same thing.
Inoki.
NWF.
When you have the money to do that, you can do that. And then you can claim to have been a world champion, and it helps your own promotion. So, but it was a fucking, and Weasel Dooley was not an Otto Vons fan either. I don't think any American was whatsoever, because it was like wrestling a bowling ball with boots.
Who was known as the Italian Connection?
That was Parisi and Cerdan, was it not?
It says here Parisi and DiNucci, but I think you may be right.
I think I am right.
Which wrestler once owned a home insulation company?
I don't know, but I wish I had his number right now.
Buddy Colt.
Buddy Colt. Ron Reed.
Fill in the blank. A snap blank.
Decision. No. Snapmare.
Well, I wouldn't even know that. Well, I guess just based on the territory. Where did the 1987 UWF Wrestling Spectacular Super Blast take place?
Well, somewhere in the state of Louisiana, I would imagine, but the Superdome?
It says New Orleans Superdome. It should have in parentheses, most likely the lowest crowd ever. I'm just going to guess, but
yeah.
How did I forget the name of it was Super Blast?
And you know what? I use Summer Blast in Smoky Mountain, and I don't remember Super Blast either. I must have stolen it from somewhere else.
The NWA allows gambling on the outcome of wrestling matches by wrestlers, managers, and referees. True or false?
I'm thinking that may be a big white lie.
That's correct. I was about to say that's true, but it's not true. That's correct. It's false.
What I said was true.
Which wrestler was known as the Rubber Man?
Johnny Walker.
Which popular wrestler earned the name Slingshot because he always snaps back from defeat?
Okay, that I may need some. Can I phone a friend? I have none. I'll have to buy a vowel, I guess.
I'm not sure about this one. It says Lou Albano. Let me read the question again.
What?
What popular wrestling manager earned the name Slingshot because he always snaps back from defeat? I've never heard Lou Albano called Slingshot.
Yeah, that's an inside joke somewhere.
Luke the Kook Capetis.
What the fuck? Is that the cousin of Katsaboulis?
Let me start again. True or false? Luke the Kook Lapetis tag teamed with Buddy Rogers to win the NWA Tag Team Championship on August 26, 1942.
Oh, well, that's absolutely true.
That is absolutely false.
It is? You're kidding me.
True or false?
Buddy Rogers didn't team with Larrap and Larry the fucking whatever the fuck in 1942. I'm astonished.
True or false? Sloan Tempest wrestled in the 60s and was known for secreting foreign objects in the turnbuckles. What?
Sloan Tempest sounds like a titty dancer from the 50s.
Was known for secreting foreign objects in the turnbuckles. What does that even mean?
What would you... It's hiding. Is secreting in that definition is hiding rather than leaking. You can leak secretions.
True or false?
I think that has to be false. I think they're thinking of the mad magician Billy Spears, who in his day in Alabama and the Southern Territories was called the Mad Magician because he could produce foreign objects and different things like that from seemingly out of nowhere to use on his opponents.
Of course, Billy Spears was later arrested for trying to organize a hit on Austin Idol, and that wasn't an angle. That was a real thing.
That is true. Yes. The infamous hit. He unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I guess fortunately for Idol, but unfortunately for Billy Spears, he was better at foreign objects than he was at contract murder.
Butch Reed goes by what other names?
Hacksaw.
And?
Oh, Bruce Reed. He wrestled when he first started, he wrestled as Bruce Reed.
Well, you are correct with that, but that's not the other name listed.
Also Doom.
Well, this is before Doom, I would imagine.
Okay, well, wait a minute. All right, Bruce Reed. Hacksaw Butch Reed, the natural Butch Reed.
There we go.
Okay.
When shall an NWA referee disqualify a participant for rules infractions?
Anytime he shall decide to.
Wrong.
Oh.
When that wrestler has been warned twice already.
That's right. You got to give a fair warning. You got to do that. It's not cricket if you don't give fair warning.
Which Mexican wrestling brothers owned and operated Casa Lothario in Tampa, Florida in the early 1970s?
Well, obviously, it sounds like Jose Lothario would be part of that. Did he have a wrestling brother?
The answer is Jose and Salvador Lothario.
Was Salvador Lothario really his brother? Or was that an imitation brother? Because he didn't make it as far as Jose.
Two tag teams used the name Kangaroos. Name them.
The Fabulous Kangaroos, Al Costello and Roy Heffernan, that later became Al Costello and Roy St. Clair, that later became Al Costello and Don Kent. And then there were a few other variations of the Kangaroos after that, including one early on involving Al Snow and Mickey Doyle, I believe. And the Royal Kangaroos of Norman Frederick Charles III and, of course, the ever-popular Lord Jonathan Boyd.
That is correct. The Fabulous and Royal Kangaroos.
Yes.
In the NWA, who determines ratings?
The Nielsen people. No, the rankings, I don't know what answer they would have given because there is none.
A 2/3 vote of the NWA Board of Directors.
Okay, that's completely fictitious.
All right, a few more questions. True or false? Ox Baker is the brother of former televangelist Jim Baker, but chose to spell his name Baker due to the religious differences.
No, that is false, because Ox Baker was never the brother-in-law of Tammy Faye.
Who was Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine's most popular wrestler in 1972? I'm going to give you a clue here. It's a tie. And obviously there was no PWI in 1972, but we've gone over this in the past.
Right. We've established that they carried over the annual awards from Sports Review Wrestling and other of their publications. And you say 1972, and it was a tie. Most popular wrestler, Pedro Morales and Jack Briscoe.
Jack Briscoe and Fred Curry.
Son of a... What?
I'm surprised by that. No disrespect to Fred Curry, but I'm quite surprised by that.
Well, then Pedro got another major award, and they couldn't, and it wasn't just a leg lamp. It was a major, and in the same magazine, and they couldn't give it to him twice because Fred Curry was a big babyface, but Pedro, that was the height of his WWF title reign and their New York-based magazines. So he won something that year.
According to the NWA official rules, a tag team mate must be this distance from his corner to tag in. How far?
Now, say that again. How's that written?
According to the NWA official rules, a tag team mate must, and those are 3 words, tag team mate. A tag team mate must be this distance from his corner to tag in. How far?
Well, I guess then that if there's no tag rope, he would have to be touching the turnbuckle, so an arm's length. Is that
Bingo.
How they describe it? Okay,
That's
arm's
how you
length.
got it. Wow.
Okay.
All right, 2 more questions here. Which second-generation wrestler made his professional debut on Independence Day 1980 against Jerry Brown?
Second-generation wrestler, July 4th, 1980. It's one of the Von Erichs, is it not?
It is not.
It is not?
It is not.
Wait a minute. Okay, July 4th, 1980, debut against Jerry Brown. July 1980.
Second generation.
Give me the territory it happened in.
I'm not certain. I would guess it would be probably Georgia or Alabama, but I'm not certain. Likely Alabama, but I'm not certain.
One of the Armstrongs.
Brad Armstrong, according to this. I never thought about that when he debuted. Yeah.
I guess that's right. There you go.
And finally, Jim, true or false? When a championship vacancy occurs, the NWA may designate a new champion.
Well, I mean, there's no rule written that way, depending on what happens if somebody fucking bailed and no-showed or walked out or whatever. Yes, that has happened. I don't know that that's a blanket ruling. That's one of those things that has to be game-specific to their time period and their area. I would think the answer would be no.
The answer is true.
True?
A championship vacancy occurs, the NWA may designate a new champion, not even an interim champion, but a new champion. And
see, I would have thought in Florida, Eddie Graham would have insist on some type of tournament, elimination match or something rather than just naming a new champion. But maybe they set a precedent and then they couldn't get out of it.